RPA as a solution is only part of the solution. So what we're looking at in terms of the market penetration is in two areas. One within the BPOs, where they're trying to reduce their cost to serve, and secondly within the shared service and captive mature organisations that have already been through a lot of the elements necessary to make their operations as efficient and cost effective as possible. Where the real activity is at the moment is with the BPO, pure play BPO organisations in India and in other low cost locations that see the potential threat that comes from RPA driving a lot of their internal activity. We're only starting to see the start of that, but that will dramatically increase over time. Ultimately, I think that US will be the biggest market, as it was for ERP, and it is for outsourcing and has been for outsourcing for many years. But until that point, Europe is actually in the vanguard, and it's a good place to do business. As far as deployments are concerned, in terms of RPA, then we're starting with actually most of the POCs, the proofs of concept, tend to be around, so far have tended to be around the simple, repeatable, data-driven processes. As that develops and as the implementations become more widespread within organisations, we will see an increase in the complexity of those processes. What we're also seeing is that the smartest service providers are verticalising their offerings, so focusing on those parts that weren't traditionally outsourced or in shared service operations. Examples include clinical trials for pharmaceutical businesses, mortgage processing for the banks, claims processing within the insurance market, and so on. Those things tended to use old technology and they tended to throw bodies at the problem, but RPA is now allowing those type of activities to be much more automated, which allows more time to talk to and interact with the customer, which will drive margins up for the end user client and concomitantly drive up margins and profitability for the outsourcing service providers. If you look at the competitive landscape of the robotic process automation vendors, there are those organisations that have been around for some time and have been building their products iteratively, but they tend to be based on older technology, which is more difficult to implement. The more modern robotic process automation vendors tend to be built on modern platforms and are therefore inherently more capable of being scaled more quickly. So the easiest way to describe it is you can automate more and you can automate more quickly with the leaders of those of the RPA vendors than you can with the more traditional ones. If we look at where organisations run into trouble with their robotic process automation implementations, it tends to revolve around that underestimation of the level of activity required within their own organisation. In the same way that outsourcing BPO was originally set up 20 years ago, you need, in order to be successful, an executive sponsorship within the organisation and the will within the organisation to drive that activity forward. I see the use of existing methodologies as being able to facilitate that or mitigate against that problem, principally around existing process improvement, Lean Six Sigma, Kaizen projects. If the smartest organisations, RPA organisations, can capitalise on the existing process improvement activity within the organisation, that will answer a lot of the capability questions that organisations have. Some Lean Six Sigma leadership would see the technology as a threat from their process improvement activity, because it's all around the people and the process improvement. The RPA providers need to persuade them that this is an adjunct to, an addition to their task, to actually provide RPA that radically improves efficiency and decreases costs and really drives the sort of activity that they've been seeking for the last 5 or 6 years.